Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. I had a super productive week in terms of art, so I wanted to share that with you today. Starting on Monday, I used my iPad and Procreate to do some digital art. I designed a sticker sheet because I do want to open my own little sticker shop eventually, hopefully this month actually. Sunflowers are my favorite flower, and they're actually my mom's favorite as well. She has a sunflower tattoo on her ankle, so I really wanted to do a sunflower themed sticker sheet. And I've also been reading a ton of books lately, so I thought I'd combine the two. I have designed some other sticker sheets. I have 6 others before this one. This will be my 7th, and I want to have at least 10 before I open my shop. Moving on to the line art, I'm using that same pencil style brush. It's just one of Procreate's basic brushes. I think it's the HB6 pencil. It's my favorite to draw and outline with. I wanted this whole sticker sheet to have more of a neutral color palette, so instead of a bright sunny yellow, I used more of an ochre color, and I kept warm tones throughout the entire thing. Here I am outlining where the actual stickers will be cut out. This is always my least favorite part about making stickers, and I always dread doing it last, so I thought, why not just do it after I finish the line art? I'm just outlining and filling in where I want each sticker to be cut with my Cricut, and then we can finally move on to coloring, which is my favorite part, getting to select all the different colors. So here's that ochre color. I love this color, it's so beautiful. This is my most detailed and intricate sticker sheet I've ever made, so it took me quite a while. I listened to an entire audiobook while drawing this. I listened to I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, and then I also started Everything Is Tuberculosis by John Green. I'm super excited I got to finish that whole audiobook in one sitting because my Libby hold is over 20 weeks, so I'm glad I could finally knock it off my TBR. Moving on to the shading, I do this in 2 different layers, so I use the same color, but the bottom layer I set to a very low opacity, and then the secondary layer is just slightly darker than the first, and I layer those on top of each other, and I think it has a nice effect. Another one of my favorite things to do when drawing is have multicolor line art, so I just do a darker color and I correspond those with what the actual drawing is, so the leaves have a darker green, etc. And I also put the full Procreate speed paint on the screen there if you're interested in seeing that as well. Lastly, I add some highlights, and with that she is all done, and I love the way it looks. I love the colors. I'm just super happy with it. Moving on to Tuesday, we're going to do some traditional art. I'm using my sketchbook from Bailey J, one of my favorite artists and content creators. She's been a huge inspiration to me for about 10 years. I've had the sketchbook for maybe 6 months now, so I'm super excited to finally crack it open and start using it. I'm also using my Copics for the first time in years, which is crazy to think about, so I'm so happy I finally picked those guys up again. I'm starting off with a Luna Moth, which is already a beautiful color, but I want to use pink and yellow, and I'm using the same 4 or 5 markers for this entire page, and I think it came out pretty nice. Luna Moths look like they have a little ribbon on their bottom wings, and it's so pretty. I could go on about moths forever. After I finished sketching, I went in with my lightest pink marker and colored the body, and then I went in with a darker pink and outlined the top of the wings like the Luna Moths have. Used that lighter pink again to fill in the wings, and I just want to say this sketchbook paper is amazing with the alcohol markers, which shouldn't be surprising because Bailey J does use Copics herself. Using a different pink, I just darkened some areas and then went in with a medium pink, I guess I should say, to add some shading. And finally finished her off with a fine liner, outlined and added some more details. And then I moved on to a rosy maple moth, which if you don't know is already pink and yellow. They are so beautiful, so I had to draw them in my pink and yellow moth page. Next, I'm moving on to an emperor moth. They have an eyeball on each, well, an eyeball marking on each of their wings, but this might have been a bit ambitious for a marker drawing because their markings and colorings are so intricate but so beautiful, so I wanted to attempt, and I did my best, and I'm still pretty happy with him. Lastly, I drew in a little pellucid coffee wing moth. I'm not sure if I said that right, but these guys have clear wings like dragonflies and a bright green body. So all around, a pretty cool guy. Last minute, I decided to make his body yellow instead of pink, but that is the moth page all done. I love how pink it is. It's so pretty and a great way to start a new sketchbook. Moving on to Wednesday, we're still sticking with some traditional art, and I recently watched Rachel Maxey's watercolor painting video. I do not own any watercolor paints, but I do have some watercolor pencils, and I've never used these before for their intended purposes. I'm gonna do my best with these, and I have been really into The Hobbit lately. I just reread the book last week, and while I was painting this, I was listening to the first Lord of the Rings audiobook. So I decided to paint a hobbit hole. I was watching the first movie when I sketched this out the night before, and I have never used watercolor paints, not just these pencils, but also watercolor paints themselves, so this was a bit tricky. But I did my best. It was mostly supposed to be just a fun experiment, so I tried different things. I started by laying down the pencil first and going over it with water. Eventually, I started just picking the pigment straight off the pencil with a wet brush. I tried all different things with this. It was about this point that I realized I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to watercolor, and I wanted to give up, but I had to remind myself that this is just a fun little experiment, not to take it too seriously. I wasn't unhappy with the way this came out, however, there are things I think I could have done better. For starters, definitely getting some better paper, because this paper was great for the markers, however the watercolor warped it, and it was a little bit of a struggle for a bit. But my plan is to get some watercolor paper, maybe eventually get some actual watercolors, and just do a ton of practice and come back to this in a few months and see the improvement. all done. Like I said, I'm not upset with it, but I'm not super happy with it, and you can see the paper totally warped. So it was flying everywhere. I didn't think to clip it down until the very end. But with that, we are done. Moving on to Thursday, I wanted to get back to something I was more comfortable with, and we're making another sticker sheet. The theme for this one is things you might find while foraging in a forest, so I'm working on some antlers here, but I've also got some tree stumps, some leaves, and a ton of mushrooms on here. I think mushrooms are super fun to draw, but I didn't want to do entirely mushrooms, so I did add those other elements in. And I kept this one pretty warm toned as well, like even my greens have a little bit of an orange tinge to them once I add in the shading. Recently read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and the front cover of that has mushrooms that are clumped together and kind of overlapping, so that inspired those on my sticker sheet. And then of course I had to add in the classic red and brown mushrooms, very cottagecore. And then to keep with that warm tone, I added a monarch butterfly. I knew I wanted to add a butterfly, but the orange just fit perfectly. Really love the little vial of mushrooms. I think that's my favorite sticker on here, but here she is all done. And I also went ahead and printed the sunflower and foraging sticker sheets, so this is what they look like printed out, and I love them. I think they look so cute together. Moving on to Friday, the final day, I picked up the watercolor pencils again and just did some doodles. I was pretty ambitious doing like a whole scene for my first attempt, but today we're just going to keep it simple and do some doodles, starting with a little strawberry. In a little heart, and I attempted to do some lace surrounding it, but I'm not sure how well that came across, but I think it's still pretty cute. I added a little moon and clouds in. Wanted to play around with the pencil some more, nothing too serious, so I just did a few doodles, and that little heart inspired me, so I actually started another sticker sheet. Big surprise. I knew I wanted to add in that little heart, and I knew I wanted to use pink because I really love the colorings on the moth page, so I did a little cherry blossom theme. Really loved the way the heart came out, so I wanted to add in like a strip of lace. I think it could be used as a cute divider in a journal spread. Overall, I might be biased because I really love the pink, but I think this sheet came out super cute. Really love the way this one came out. The pink is so cute. Here she is printed, and I cannot wait to use this in my journal. There are a few things that didn't make it into the video, starting off with some doodles of my cats. Roxy is the tuxedo, she looks super cute in pink, and Luna is the little black cat. And then I also added a second page of moths. The elephant hawk moth is also a pink and yellow moth. Super cool. Didn't know about that one until I drew it. So that was everything I created this week. I'm super happy with the amount I got done. Super fun week. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and I will catch you in the next one.